Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, we did things... Look, I need to be honest with you, dear viewer. I have a medical condition where if I go back and spend 1 minute briefly looking over my footage to remind myself what I did last time, I will die. So, I think we finished up with No, we just began with Kazuma. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's gonna be exciting. But first, there's actually something I want to do. I got a few comments saying that, if I actually show the armband to Iris right at this moment, it's unusual and funny dialogue, maybe? Let's see. Iris, have you seen this?
Your armband? The symbol of a defense lawyer in Japan. Runo, you've shown that to me dozens of times.
Damn straight. Oh, have I? The thing is, I just feel wrong if I don't have it on my arm, you know?
Well, if you ask me, I think you should try wearing something different every now and then.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, I could make something for you if you like. How about a band that squeezes your arm when the person you're talking to tells a lie?
Isn't that what Apollo uses? I'll keep a space free on my left arm then. I swear that's what Apollo uses. That's neat. That's really cute. I'm glad I saw that. Thank you. Alright. Sorry to keep you hanging, Kazuma. Let's chat. It's getting on a year now, since what happened on the SS Burya. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain. In a bizarre series of coincidences? That should be serious. A series of coincidences led to those tragic events. I thought I'd lost my best friend forever. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of the ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes, I didn't know what had happened or where I was. There was just this voice in my head. You have something that you have to do, something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship and we were docked in a large port.
It must have been Hong Kong.
Yes, it must have been. Oh, yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. That must have been rough. Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realize now that I'd escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back, no money, of course.
Oh, how terrifying for you.
Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling out countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. It must have been some 3 months ago now. Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name. But he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I moved to heaven and earth to get here at that point. So, how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zieks' apprentice then? That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. It took me straight to Scotland Yard. And by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play.
Would that have been your knowledge of the law?
Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. I'm still betting that he recognized him. And then 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber. Yes, I did. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream. Mark my words, Ryunosuke, I'll be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday. Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here? 16 years ago. When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. He is adorable. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san.
Oh my!
Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me.
Oh.
Then, one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life.
What did it say?
It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asogi name.
Oh, no.
As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Ooh. Someone carried a grudge. Presumably, the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, it could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. But someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem.
But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing?
There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree.
Well, what did my father have to say about the letter?
I couldn't bring myself to show it to him.
What? Why not?
Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him, and he'd done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku. Oh, to the other visiting student. He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. Oh, that sucks. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Isogi. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
Oh. That's harrowing. What we learned today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was... It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean you knew? The real question is, who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Barak Van Zieks is the real Reaper. Uh-oh. And I know that 10 years ago it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave.
No, he was merely seeing that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame.
Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. When a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life. Kazuma. On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. Ooh. Well, that's all the dialogue exhausted. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to just tell him about Asashin, but... I guess we gotta have a back and forth in court. But the thing is... I'm not sure if there's anything to show him. You didn't like this nice photo? I think I showed him this already. Yeah, I must have shown this to him right before I ended the previous video. Alright. Well... We'll come back to you, maybe. Whoops. Unless Herlock is here somewhere. No. Mr. Vigil, how you doing? Oh, nothing to do. Unless I actually just examine him. Well, at least he seems to be on the mend.
You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it?
I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip.
I imagine not even his wife would have recognized him.
Perhaps, but did he really have to take it quite so far? That's my question. Oh, nothing here? Oh, it's check marks all around on everything. I definitely think we're done here. How about Strawnheart or Mikotopa? Oh, that's right, the governor's office. This'll be good. I want to hear that bird again. What was it saying? Oh, back again, are you? Yes. Hello. I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found him, eh? Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, the laddie doesn't work here no more, so your case has naught to do with Barclay. I wouldn't like you to get the wrong idea about that.
Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop.
Aye, Kimmer, you can very well. So, how about a wee handcuff biscuit?
Oh, they really are like little handcuffs. And as hard as irons, too.
So, what's brought you down here today?
He's like Gregson 2.0. He just melts into another person when he sees Iris. Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. Oh man, I just realized. Both Caden here and, the real Daily Vigil, they both wear vertical pinstripe suits. Or at least coats? Not quite sure what the proper word for that is. Vest? But yeah, the jail bar aesthetic is very on point.
Is that so?
We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Asogi's cell. I think it's been called the Asogi Papers or something.
Did I no say, Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay. Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not footer about with irrelevant details.
His expression changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Huh. Bird? I need to hear it again. Let me out. Do not kill me. Don't tell me that's like... I don't know. Could go either way. I'll keep it in mind. I'll keep it in mind.
That murderer's botched execution and the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, aye. A shocking embarrassment.
Because the convict had a collaborator on the prison staff, you mean?
Aye, for shame. The coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe. And my chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair.
But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it.
The rascal wouldn't say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs?
Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. But Tish. Oh, that hurt. That one hurt. When Mr. Vigil was handed and dismissed... Oh, sorry, I can't speak today. You know, what's getting me is this rapid swap between extremes for the voices. When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened, he was so despairing, he jumped out of your office window, didn't he?
I did not like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. Do you think he wouldn't have jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do.
You wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you?
Of course, I shun all responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on at the time now. With Gregson having been murdered and Dr. Scythe forbidden from having any visitors.
No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Well, we're not going home empty-handed.
And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing with naught, Kimmer. Here, take a handcuff or two.
Oh, well, it would be rude to say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic.
How far is this joke gonna go?
I suppose if there's anybody who might still ken about what happened back then, it'd be that lass from the forensic division, Maria Gori.
The coroner. Maria Gori.
Aye, Scythe's daughter.
I knew it! I knew it!
She didn't have no more, just the one. But the wee bairns followed in her mam's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in hand.
Ah. Mama, what is this? Ah! Where did she spring from? I just noticed the butterfly belt. That's neat. And did she just call the doctor Mama? Dr. Seath's daughter? Maria Gori. There's a Mariah Carey joke here somewhere. We could do with talking to her. So she's Dr. Seath's daughter, but her surname is Gori?
Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I dinna ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mam working with the bodies of folk who died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I understand it myself.
Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother.
Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe.
Right. And the coroner responsible for this incomplete report.
Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mam's stories about cutting up bodies.
Okay.
There's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby.
Okay. Well then, perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago.
Aye, I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us.
We really need to speak to Miss Goria herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much.
I'm no happy about any part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you no give up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions.
I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone.
Can you no just stay away noo? Leave me alone and dinna come back here, eh?
Sorry about that. Need to ask you some more.
How do you ken to know about that, laddie? There's no many folk even here in the prison who've heard of those papers.
Well, I can't tell him what Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. We've been led to believe that the papers are actually a last will and testament, is that right? The professor's, or rather, Genshin Asogi's.
Aye, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy.
Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? But then, after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it?
Havers, no. You're off at half-cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been.
Oh. Well, that's contradictory. Oh, not what we heard elsewhere.
Let me just have a wee hulk around around in here. I'm sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See.
The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with a calligraphy brush.
Of course I cannot read a word of those Japanese squiggles, but I mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland.
Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So these are the Asogi papers?
Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asogi, no doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot.
Yeah, I don't believe this for 1 second. These are fake.
After all the stramash of that slave-driven execution, we sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it.
I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case. Sent his belongings back to Japan. And yet... Didn't Kazuma only find out about his father from hate mail? That is weird.
One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, yes?
Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I'd prefer it if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office. Or rather, I wouldn't just prefer it, considering an order from the highest levels of our government.
I understand. Let's go break that order right away. Oh, Kazuma! Okay, but first I want to look at it for myself. I, Genshin Asogi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son, Kazuma Asogi, in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land, with the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Huh. Kazuma, what do you make of this? Wow, actually nothing. Well, that's fascinating. Huh. Maybe Gina's here? No. The Waterloo Hotel? No. Strongheart? No. Van Zeeks? Okay. What's that? It's just something I was hoping to ask your opinion about, that's all. It's a serious crime for the defense to attempt to extract information from the prosecution by illegal means. I think we have more of a defense and client relationship now, don't we? Oh, nothing to say to that? Okay. Well, shoot. It has been a long time since I got stuck in the investigation phase. Wow. Okay, clearly I'm missing something. Unless Sholmes is here? Or Iris? Nothing here. Susato, any ideas? Thoughts on the note? About this, Miss Susato. Do you notice anything unusual about it, perhaps? I'm so sorry, I don't know. I'll redouble my efforts and spend more time doing research so that next time I won't let you down. I think perhaps you're taking your role as judicial assistant a little too far. Ah, that's cute. Spade-chan? Hello? No, okay. Well, okay. Clearly I'm missing something with both Kaden and Kazuma, but what? Let's see. I've already looked at everything here, haven't I? Yeah, it's all check marks. Everything's check marks. And I've already conversed everything, so I need to show you something. Did I show you the band? Yeah, I did. Well, shoot. Okay, well, I guess I'll poke around on my own, and when I find something, I'll cut to it, so see you in a little bit. Oh, something for the revolver. The Reaper. At last I get to take my revenge. Cosma, Lord Van Zieks isn't responsible for your father's death, and he's not the Reaper. He's the defendant and deserving of a fair trial. You mean like the one my father had? It's a closed trial now, too. The conditions are exactly as they were 10 years ago. And even if it ruffles some feathers, I have a plan to show that man for what he really is. Kazuma. Huh. Oh. This came up in the trial, didn't it? As something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report. Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence and the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too, so I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gory.
If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too.
Oh, yes please. Well, that didn't take too long. And of course, last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery.
Lowgate Cemetery? By Barclay Prison, you mean?
You know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life.
Kazuma-sama.
Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. Ryunosuke, I want to thank you.
What for?
For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Asogi clan. Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. Karma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say. This blade, Karama, is the symbol of the Asogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname. Really? Karama? It does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side. Which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now, too. And that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. Aren't they such good friends? Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much. Kazuma, you've changed. No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Van Zieks given what happened. But the fact is, those events and this case are, well, unrelated? Is that what you wish to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary. I can't let you do that, Kazuma. I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. I would expect nothing less. Until tomorrow, then, in the Old Bailey. Well, cheers, my dude. Good chat. Let's go find that Gory. I think she's done a bit of, customization now that she has the lab all to herself. Huh. Wait. I spy with my little eye a purple and white clown-adjacent doll with diamonds. That's a jester, isn't it? You know, okay, so it's purple, white, and a nice vivid cyan. I'm gonna admit, I am stuck languishing in my artistic capabilities, but for the longest time, for years now, I've wished that I could, update the 6-second long intro of my videos, where my logo, the jester face and hat are on the screen in a black background, and it fades into the gameplay. Yeah, for the longest time, I've dreamed up an intro, same amount of time on the screen, but instead of just fading into view from black, nice cyan wind swirls blow in and reveal the jester, and then it fades to the gameplay. But unfortunately, I don't know how to animate, and I'm an awful artist, so I can't do it. And also, I don't know how to make videos fade to one another in editing, so... Actually, no, I think I could do that. Anyway. This place really is creepy, isn't it?
Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death.
Iris, do you think we could change the subject?
Well, what was that?
Dr. Gory?
What?
That noise before.
I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them.
Right.
When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see.
Famous last words.
Then, I think you'll do nicely.
Huh? No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Tisk. Was that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... a part of me hopes that we never get a face reveal. Because this character design is so good. It's like... There are a handful of, like, shortcuts you can take in character design that immediately make a character really cool. A, plague doctor mask, wearing a coat but your arms aren't in the sleeves and it's just hanging on your shoulders, chest bandages, a cool face tattoo maybe. Oh, and a bandana that flaps in the wind. Yeah, that's cool too. Anyway, let's take a little... Well, first things first, most important thing here. Could I ask your opinion about this? Don't forget, you're responsible for putting my mama in jail. Why should I help you? Okay. Kitty. This looks different to before. Of course, Mr. Naruhodo, Miss Gory is a young maiden. She has all sorts of charming little dolls and the like around her place of work. Look. Oh, yes, you're right. Perhaps she's not so strange after all. They're how I practice. Sorry? Mama always says that operations and dissections require speed and accuracy. So I take out my needle and thread and stitch 3 new dolls every day. Right. I used to make livers or kidneys or intestines, but Mama told me to make something more friendly instead. That's quite different to what I'd imagined. Hoot. That looks like an owl and a crow up there. I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here. Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Mr. Naruhodo. I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open. Yes, I think perhaps you were wise to put something like your Dharma doll on display in the office instead. Yeah, I don't like taxidermies. It's a bit too macabre for me. Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Yeah, he's avoiding talking about the skeleton. I've seen this. Back from the Dribber case. Oh, hold on. No, this would be new then. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they? It's 10 people. Pardon? It's made from the bones of 10 different people all mixed together. Some of my best works. I was admiring the case, actually. The scary skeleton inside is something I intend to ignore as best I can. You're strange. I wonder who is the strangest. Oh man. A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing? It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. That's Mama's dissection table. It's too high for me, though. It is? If I fell from that height in my sleep, it would really hurt. What? You mean you sleep in here? Autopsy work is very involved. It's usually too late to think about going home when I'm finished. But I have bad dreams when I sleep here, and I always end up falling onto the floor. So I'd like to exchange that table for a lower one. Maybe you should just go home. Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquors or something, or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back home.
Yes, let's assume there's something completely innocent like that. Ah, that jar you're looking at up there contains monkey brains.
Oh my.
The composition is similar to the human brain, so they make for interesting study material. And in the next jar, Lon, we have monkey...
No more monkey things, please.
If you say so. Oh dear. The time when I still thought it was just some pickled umeboshi plums seems so long ago already.
Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals.
These ones here are labeled highly toxic.
Oh, that's worrying. Because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there.
Oh, yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes.
Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. Alright, I think that'll do it. Let's chat. Hey lady, what the fuck is this? We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember.
You're not dead yet.
What?
So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that.
Well,
Good?
Dr. Seath has some scruples at least.
Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us. For the time being, anyway.
For the time being? You mean until we die? I hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon.
Ugh.
Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Hey lady, what the fuck? Could I ask your opinion about this? Wait, that was the dismissal notice on the autopsy report. Yeah, here it is. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this.
He was very good.
Good? Sorry?
His skin didn't snag on my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
We can skip those details. But there is one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. Ah. Yeah, that's actually kind of exactly what I imagined.
That's not my fault.
Oh, that made me jump. White woman jump scare. I wonder how many people know that references. Whatever.
Then please, tell us what happened.
So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail. Yay!
I was told not to write it.
What? By whom?
Male Strongheart.
Of course.
The Lord Chief Justice. He came here.
Lord Strongheart came...
He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on the 1st of November when the gunshot was heard. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it?
Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go the same way as your mother.
Give it here, then.
I'm glad that got her attention. What's she scribbling so furiously?
There.
You've written...
What? What's written? Tell us.
Indeterminate.
But...
Oh. The estimation of the time of death is not possible. That's new. That's a new one. Huh. Whoops, that wouldn't be it. Let's see. Now, I kind of hope that the font for indeterminate is something completely different. Nah. Indeterminate, evidence suggests measures may have been taken to disguise the time of death. Ooh! Ho ho! What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate?
When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh, so the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot.
What?
If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Well, yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate the... Is that even possible?
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time,
then only the fish would have started to rot.
With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems.
But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device.
What about an ice bath?
No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory or some other special place? I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder, if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow, what might the actual time of death have been? I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier.
No.
In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered at a different location.
Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility?
He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity.
Oh, yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Seath, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution.
The professor?
Apparently you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago.
That's not all Mama did.
Sorry?
My Mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well.
What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim. The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted, and it was miraculously authorized. Yeah, remember that. That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event. What does all this mean? You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gory? Okay. I'm so tempted to press on. Because it would be really awkward if, like, we hit the trial, like, 30 minutes into the next video or 50 minutes in, but... Nah, I'll just go for it. And by go for it, I mean the exact opposite. I'll stop here. Go for it. It being stopping here. Wow. Way to go, my brain. Way to go there. Man, Kazuma is such an endlessly fascinating character. He's so complex. But yeah, it's happening. I had him pegged for the start. Maelstrom Heart is the final boss of this story. He is. He absolutely is. It's unquestionable. I'm going to guess he's the one who was the real killer of Clint Van Zeeks. Just like, look, I've played these games enough. I feel like I'm in the headspace of the authors enough. I feel like that's exactly where this is going. Now, I do remember Genshin admitted in his cell in that little flashback, thanks to Vigil, that he did kill someone. He has taken human life. But I don't think it's gonna be Clint. I lack enough information to say anything more than that, but that is my earnest prediction of where this is going. Alright, so last time I was uncertain, this time I'm certain. Next time we'll wrap up this investigation phase and start the trial. Oh, it's gonna be good! Anyway, I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.